Welcome back to Bob versus Willie. Bob Gerson, Willie Witten here. Today we are talking about Creedence Clearwater Revival. We're going to talk about their best 10 songs. A little bit different this time around, I feel, Bob, with the length of careers. We didn't quite see eye to eye on Santana a couple of weeks ago. I think we're going to be a little closer this time, but maybe not. What do you got for me, Bob? I'm going to let you lead off.
Well, my number 10 song is Lodi, which is off of Green River, their third album. And Lodi is actually has a number of different meanings in it when he wrote it. And the first one is it was just an area that he drove through with his father when he was young. And then the other one was when they were playing all the bars and all that going through Central California. They played in the farming town of Lodi, and Doug Clifford commented that there were about 10 drunk farmers in there, all telling them to turn it down.
I like the stories part of Lodi, but Bob, I got to tell you, Lodi, not on my list, a little bit too slow. So maybe I spoke too soon. My number 10, Penthouse Pauper. Antithetical a bit to Lodi in that it's not from any sort of stories or experiences so much. It's more of a attitude song. I picked it because I love the tone of Fogerty's guitar on this one. It's very sharp. It's very biting. And it's a brief song. It's early on in the career. I just like it. 9, I have Bad Moon Rising off that same Green River album. It's one of those songs that still gets a lot of radio play. I think that when you hear it, those who know, it hits their mind and they're like, that's right. That's CCR. Who do you have for 9 and 8?
For number 9, I have Susie Q. Now, for me, Susie Q is the first song I ever heard by CCR. And I remember when I heard it, I was in a bar in Detroit, and it just came up on the jukebox, and I go, man, that is really a good song. And then after that, I ended up buying their album and going to see them in concert. So it meant a lot to me. And the thing is, it was a cover of Dale Hawkins from 1958, and Fogerty did it on purpose because he wanted their first single to be a song that CCR did not write. Even though the majority of songs were written by them, he wanted to use one that he didn't write because he felt that he could get the sound that he wanted with less personal intimidation because it wasn't his own song. For number 8, I have Green River. And Green River is another song that has a multiple meanings to it, but my favorite meaning is that Green River was the flavor of a soda fountain drink. They called them phosphates. When I was growing up, we used to go and they were only a nickel, and they had a number of flavors, and one of the flavors was Green River, and it was lime.
Bob, I had never heard that before. I like that. My number 8, I have Ramble Tamble. Maybe not so much as Bad Moon Rising, but it's got a very chunky beginning. It's got a very raw, organic sound to it. And it has that sort of country swagger, that very out in the barn type feel to it, which fits along with a name like Ramble Tamble. That's pretty much what the song is. For number 7, that's where I put Susie Q. Bob, you already spoke about it. Let's hear who you got next.
Well, for number 7, I have Heard It Through the Grapevine. And that's another one of those songs that, well, I'm from Detroit. And first of all, the song was already made a hit 3 times before they even did it. And the first time that I heard it, I was driving to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it came on the radio. And when I turned the radio on, it was already in the middle of the guitar solo, right? And they played the whole 11-minute version of it. And I'm going, wow. I said, man, that sounds like John Fogerty on guitar. And then it was just a great song. And then for number 6, Bad Mood Rising, and you already chose that, and that was from Green River.
Yeah, I remember. I almost did Heard It Through the Grapevine. I easily could have picked that one. I didn't. I remember that song, Bob. It was something I'd throw on the jukebox back in college when cash was tight. You'd have a lot of people going into the bar. And they put on just what I would think is the worst music. And so for 6 plays for $1, I had my songs picked out and they were all pretty lengthy. And so not only did I like CCR, but for 11 minutes, it's pretty cash efficient at a night at the bar in college where cash is tight. So I have a special connection with that song as well, even if I didn't pick it. Number 6 for me, though, is Up Around the Bend. Same thing. The theme that I'm going with is that sort of barnyard organic. There's a line, you come up around the bend where the neons turn to wood. And I felt that was very much about who CCR was, is that their sound, their ethos is get away from the neons, get away from the city, get out to where the signs turn to wood, get out to where the music is good. 5, I don't know. I got to imagine you have this on your list somewhere. Have you ever seen the rain? If you do have it on your list, Bob, I'll let you talk about it. I'm hoping it's going to fall to you. What do you have next?
Number 5 is Have You Ever Seen the Rain?
All right. See? All right. We're on point here.
Well, I mean, that song was the last song that Tom Fogerty was part of CCR. He quit the band after that. And the song is about that. It's about his brother, the unreconcilable differences that he had with his brother that caused the rift that CCR broke up over. And it was because it was at the peak of their success, and you're raining on my parade, and that was it. Okay, and number 4 is Run Through the Jungle. Now, the funny thing about Run Through the Jungle, it's always been associated with Vietnam. It sounds like a Vietnam song, and it came out at the height of the Vietnam War, but it has nothing to do with Vietnam. It does have to do with weapons and guns, but it was about the proliferation of guns in America at that time and people running in the streets with guns. But at the same time, Fogerty was a supportive of the Second Amendment and even was a hunter. So he wasn't speaking out against guns in general, but specific uses and misuses.
Interesting. I learned something new. I was going to say my compliment, and it just so happened to a Run Through the Jungle type song, was Born on the Bayou. Because I had the association of jungle, bayou, etc. It does have the same musical undertones. It's swampy. It's mysterious. I had no idea, though, what Run Through the Jungle was really about. I just assumed it was about Vietnam and the jungle. Born on the Bayou is a bit more about being on the bayou. So I love it. I think it is, once again, sort of the Bad Moon Rising. It falls right into that category of you hear it and you know it's CCR. Bob, I'm going to say also for my number 3, I guess all my songs with CCR are a little bit like this. For my number 3, I've got the Midnight Special. And I know that that's not a CCR song, but it's that same idea of country almost. It's almost blues country at a time where they sort of stepped away from psychedelic music. They stepped away from hard rock, and they're sort of giving old fables in a musical form. I know they didn't write it, but the Midnight Special, you hear it, and you know with that Fogerty voice right away. I think it's them.
Well, I like Midnight Special, although it didn't make my list. When I think of it, I think of Wolfman Jack's show back in the 1970s. And for my number 3, I have Fortunate Son. Now, John Fogerty and Doug Clifford, drummer, both got drafted into the Army in 1966. They weren't Creedence yet. They were called the Gollywogs at that time. But the thing is, they both served in the military, and this is a song about the draft. And Fortunate Son is all the people that got drafted who didn't have the connections, or the people who didn't get drafted were the fortunate son, the ones that had the connections to be able to get pulled because their father was a senator or something. And number 2 is Proud Mary. And the reason I have Proud Mary there is Proud Mary is a very important song. It's one of the most important songs in John Fogerty's life. John Fogerty refused to play any Creedence songs after he quit. It was such so much anger was involved in it. And it was in the early 80s that he was at a concert with Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan said to him, if you don't start playing some of your music again, everybody's going to think that Ike and Tina Turner wrote Proud Mary. And so that was the push that made him start to do CCR music again.
Okay, I didn't have Proud Mary on my list. I don't think I have quite the historical knowledge you do of it. Also, and it's not against the song, but this happens sometimes. It's been played so much, for whatever reason, it doesn't resonate as much with me because of its play on the radio. That's not a fault of the song. For my number 2, it's a song that you've already mentioned, Fortunate Son. As soon as you hear that opening riff, you know what song this is. It's a great song. It is right to the point. It is one of those subtle yet direct, and I know that's oxymoronical, subtle yet direct protest songs. It doesn't sound like a protest song. It's not slow moving. It's not depressing. But if you listen to the words are very direct, and you gave the reasons for that. My number 1 song is a lesser known song. It's called Wrote a Song for Everyone. I think that is their best song. I think it's a hidden gem in the utmost sense of the term hidden gem. It's slower, it's pensive, it's reflective. Everything on that song is sort of slowed down. I feel like it's a nice window into the John Fogerty soul. And when we talk about CCR, that's who we really are talking about, at least the best of their stuff. It has a wonderful guitar solo, and it has some really poignant lyrics as well, if you're willing to listen to them. I've listened to that song at times 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times on repeat. Maybe it's just me and I'm losing my mind, but I think that's their most resonant tune that they have in their catalog, even if most people have maybe never heard of it. And your number 1, Bob?
Who'll Stop the Rain?
Really?
The song itself was talking about the Woodstock Festival and the rain at Woodstock, because they were the last band to play in the morning before the festival stopped. And then when it started up again the next day, it started to rain right after that. So the song was written about that specifically.
You know what? Neither one of our number 1 songs appear on each other's lists. One question before we go, Bob. What do you think of my list? What do you think of my number 1 song, and that I didn't have yours on mine at all?
Well, your number 1 song, I mean, it's not a bad song, but I wouldn't have put it at number 1. I think that some of the songs that you had, like Ramble Tamble.
Yeah.
Ramble Tamble is something that
I love that song.
I never really even considered.
Really?
I mean, it's okay, but it's like it's in and out and switch and change, and there's just too many changes in it. That's what I didn't like about it. And then Penthouse Pauper. That one, when I saw you didn't have Proud Mary on your list, but you had Penthouse Pauper off the same album, that I couldn't understand. That is beyond understanding with me, because Penthouse Pauper sucks.
I looked at those 2 songs and I knew that this was going to be a point of consternation with you, but I went with it anyways because I like it better. I know Proud Mary is way more important. I know it's a better song, but I just don't care, Bob. Anyways, what do you guys think? What do you care about? Is Bob completely wrong on this, like he usually is? Come on, you know Bob's wrong and I'm right about this. Or am I a fool? Either way, I hope you picked up something interesting today. Bob dropping knowledge left, right, and center. Bob, thank you very much for that. Give us a thumbs up if you like what we had. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. But for Bob Gersten, I'm Willie Witten. This has been Bob versus Willie.